What we're doing about the YouTube thing? I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to make a new basic style YouTube account. Sorry, you're not going to make any money anymore. We're going to have to make, a basic style YouTube account, and therefore people won't know what your basic style YouTube account is. And go take a hike. They don't have a link. YouTube is where you can find many hundreds of millions of hours of Shiur and inspirational messages.
And lots of other nonsense.
That's simple. What's the internet? It's the same thing. You can find many.
Okay, let's get going.
Many things. Positive. That's simple.
Morning of Hanukkah. So it's Hanukkah. I have Chizuk and Limud HaTorah. Right.
Right.
Okay, we're discussing a person who used fuel of Isui Hanor. That means he took something which is Asa B'Hanor. The Lord talks about primarily three kinds of Isui Hanor. Anybody can think of something which is Asa B'Hanor? Orlo, Klei Kerem. No, Chometz B'Pesach. No, Chometz B'Pesach. You used what? It's Hanukkah. I don't know if the Asa B'Hanor. What happened was you use them as fuel. And we discussed with yesterday, there are two principles we need to discuss. One's called Zevazei Goyim, where two things together cause a benefit if it's mutar asa. And another thing is, if yesh shvach eitzim bepas, do we say that the fuel goes directly, the issa hanor improves the bread, and therefore the bread is forbidden? I mean, if you use issa hanor as fuel, do we say the bread is benefited from this hanor, or do we say no? It's only after the bread is consumed that the bread gets heated that things benefit. So let's see the Gemara inside. So Gemara wants to prove now who holds Zevazei Goyim also. Who's the one who holds that if there's two things together that can cause the issa? The Gemara suggested Rabbi Lezer. The Gemara pushed away that it's not necessarily Rabbi Lezer. It could be always holds Achra. Elo. We're up to 8 lines from the top on Chav Zayin on Medalev. 8 lines from the top. Elo Rabbi Lezer Datzei Hasheyo. It's Rabbi Lezer Datzei Hasheyo. And Rashi points out like this, that really, in that following Mishnah, we're going to find the Machloikas, and both of them hold Zevazei Goyim. Both of them, both the Tanna Kama and Rabbi Lezer hold Zevazei Goyim. So the question is, why do we say it's Rabbi Lezer, not the Tanna Kama then? The answer is, when we want to find a Tanna, we want to find an explicit name of a Tanna. And we don't know who is the Tanna Kama of that Mishnah. Since we see that Rabbi Lezer argues in the Sefer, we can say it's Rabbi Lezer of that Mishnah. Of course, it is true that it's also the Tanna Kama of that Mishnah. Let's see inside. Rabbi Lezer, the Atzei Hasheyo. Atzei Hasheyo is another thing which is Asa B'Hanor. Wood from a tree which is served by the Zod. It's nine. If you go to a cross and you take off a piece of wood, notal heimeno eitzim, you take off some wood off a cross. Asun B'Hanor, you're not allowed to get pleasure from it. Hisik B'Edes Atano, if you heat up your oven, chodosh, if it's new yutas, you should smash it, yoshon yutza. Now, think about it. Why should you smash it if it's a new oven? The answer is because the first time you heat it, you're making it into an oven. But when are you going to benefit from this oven? The next time you cook with it. The next time you cook with it, you'll be using kosher wood to heat it up. Is a vaya that Zevazei Goyim is also. Is that clear? The fact that you're using it to smash the oven, why do you have to smash the oven? Because you made the oven through asher wood. But who cares? The next time you use kosher wood, the answer is Zevazei Goyim is also. And now we finish off the Mishnah. Off boy is a pasa, so the bread is also. V'hano. This avo b'achiros couldn't assume, but no, there's a special halacha regarding issa of avodah zarah that it's not bottle afilu be'elef, even in a million. If you go issa anov avodah zarah, lo yidbak biyotchem u'umo min ha'cherem. Therefore, we dash that nothing is allowed to touch from it. Therefore, it's asa b'ano. So let's say if you've got one slice of bread, which is Issa Avodah Zarah, and 100 slices, which is not Issa Avodah Zarah, according to the Kama, you have to throw all 101 into the bin, into the sea. According to Rabbi Lezer, what you do is like this. You say, the value of whichever slice of bread is Avodah Zarah should go onto this pound, throw the pound into the sea, and then you can eat everything. The Chachamim said, no. There's no such thing as redeeming Avodah Zarah. By hektish, that would work, but Avodah Zarah, it doesn't. Lemaisa. We see clearly from Rabbi Lezer that Zevazei Goyim is also, even from the Tanna Kama that says, well, even the Shema said, Rabbi Lezer, Avodah Zarah, the Chami Yisur. This whole Mishnah is talking about Avodah Zarah. V'shar Yisur, Shemater, Mishama Sdei, you know about this other Yisur? And then says, well, you can't mind tell me. Who else would be the previous brisa that says that Chodosh is Yutatz? We have a full brisa that all his sons Shabbat have the same principle. That what? That Zevis Legum is also. Omar Abaya. If you say that Rebbe holds that Zevis Legum is also, so Rebbe must hold that Kabbalah. So therefore, Rebbe is one who holds of it. And if you say that he doesn't hold the he holds Zevzegem Mutter, and the ratio of that Vaisa is not Rebbe, it's only Rabbi Lezer. And therefore it's only by bread that Rabbi Lezer, that the Rebbe holds it also. Let's think about it. What would you say? If you got an earthenware plate, and the first time, you must remember, what do you do with the first thing when you get earthenware? Heat it up. And you use Issa not to heat it up. Can you use it? If you hold Zevzegem Mutter, I'm asking. Zevzegem Mutter. So an oven is okay, because at the end of the day, the next time you use the oven, how will you use the oven? You will use kosher wood. So it's Zevzegem. It's the additional use of the previous wood and this wood. But what about a plate? Would you say it's Zevzegem Mutter or would you say it's awesome? No, plate, you just use it to put your shreddies on.
Where you put what? Yeah, no, but what you do, you put it this same oven.
No. You took a plate of earthenware and used Isuya Hanor to heat it up.
Right. So it's not Zevzeh because it's only one.
Very good, and therefore it is also even according to the Mandoma Zevzegem Mutter. Because no Zevzeh. Why is not Zevzeh?
There's only one few.
So the only few. Hani always v'koises etzluchis, bowls, cups, and plates. Asivi ki pligi betanu. What would you say about a pot? So first he says it's Zevzegem. Think about it. A pot. Let's say I make my pot with Isurei Hano. I heat up Isurei Hano and I make the pot hard. That's what they used to do. Yeah. So therefore, would you say it's Zevzegem? First it says that's Zevzegem, because what do you do with a pot? Let's say you want to make with it cholent. So then afterwards you take other wood and then you heat up your cholent inside it. So it's Zevzegem. What's making my cholent tasty? The previous wood that made the pot hard, and the next set of wood which makes the cholent hot. So it's Zevzegem. But then he says no. In order to be able to put the cholent, the potatoes and the meat and the beans and everything inside it, what do you have to do? You have to make it hard. So even before you heat it up the second time, you benefited directly from the previous wood. It's not Zevzegem. By an oven, everybody agrees it's called Zevzegem. By a plate, as you all correctly said, it's not Zevzegem because you never needed a second source of heat. By a pot, Rebbe was doubtful. And in the end, he said it's not Zevzegem because the first time you use the pot before you heat up your cholent, just to be able to put your stuff inside it in order to start cooking, you need to have a hard pot. If it's a broken pot, you won't be able to. So let's see this. Also, in order to be able to absorb, in order to be able to accept, meaning to handle, to hold all the food, you needed to rely on the previous wood. So therefore it's not Zevzegem. In fact, it is just Zegem, and therefore it's awesome. Okay. If it's new, you should destroy it. Like we said, Zevzegem is also. If it's old, you can use it. Now, what did we say about baking bread? Rebbe holds it is mutter. Sorry, asa. The Chum holds it as mutter. And he goes and reads it the wrong way around. Rebbe Omer pas mutter is the bread is mutter. Chum oisim. Chum Omer pas aso. You've got it wrong. Rebbe was on who said it's asa, not Rebbe says it's on this mutter. And Small Shmuel Ipchatani, he learned it from his Rebbe's other way around. When you've got Rebbe against one person, we pass like Rebbe. Rebbe against a number of people, we say Yochid v'Rabbi v'Alochik v'Rabbi. So therefore, over here, really, who should Alochik be like? Rebbe or the Chachamim? The Chachamim, because Yochid v'Rabbi v'Alochik v'Rabbi. But he felt that Rebbe's opinion of here was so strong that he decided to turn it around in order that people should take the Chachamim's opinion and thereby come to Rebbe Shitta. That means he twisted the halachas. Let's say, for example, I want you to, Rashi says this. Let's say I want an halacha, and I know that you might not accept it from me. So I say to the Chofetz Chaim says it. Oh, you're listening to me. Says Rashi, that's okay. Even though the Chofetz Chaim never said it.
As long as he said the other way around.
No, so over here he wanted everybody to hold like Rebbe. So he said the Chachamim said what Rebbe said.
But it's saying it's not like the Chachamim. In your example, the Chachamim like you never said this.
Right.
So you're saying it
to establish by words. So that's right, because he wanted people to pass like Rebbe, and he knew that if he said Rebbe, he said it is Osa, the Chachamim say it's Mutter, what would you come along and do? Mutter. So therefore, what did he do? He said Rebbe, he said it's Mutter, Chachamim say it's Osa, and then everybody will now listen to the Chachamim, which is what he wanted. He wanted everybody to listen to think it's Osa. So what it says, ask the and in fact, the Rif and the Rosh both paskan lechumma. Why did the paskan lechumma over here? Even though Rebbe is the machmir, that is because of Shmuel turning it round. So therefore, if you on Pesach take your chametz and you cook with it your cholent, what's the din? Your cholent is awesome. Because in here we paskan like Rebbe. That means you're right. We paskan like the chachamim according to thing, but we paskan like the issa. You can't use issa no. Now. We're going to start a new topic, a deeper point of view. We said like this: if you use coals of chametz, everybody agrees that what? It's mutter. Everybody agrees it's mutter. Why?
There's no longer chametz.
Very good. If you use chametz itself, that means you take a chametz, a piece of bread. That's machlokes Rebbe and Chachamim. We just pass in lechumah. Now, in between bread and coals, there's a few stages, because as it gets hotter, it becomes what's the word for it? Flickering coals, then smoldering coals. So the Gemara now discusses this point. Let's think more inside. That's only by smoldering coals. Smoldering coals is basically burned down. So if it's not chametz anymore. But flickering coals, where it's still the coal and there's still fire on top of the coal. That as long as it's already a coal, even if it's already got a fire on it, it is mutter. Because there's wood benefiting it. And is past the osa the more asks a kasha. According to that, when does Rebbe ever hold its osa? If you hold flickering coals as mutter, when is it ever osa? Asks more. Meaning, when you've got a flame on the bread, that is considered the real problem of having anor from bread. According to Rebbe, if you got a piece of bread and it's got a flame on the bread, so you're actually benefiting directly from the bread, then it is also. But when it's already got into coals, it is mutter. Chavzayin based off of the page. If you got a piece of bread, it's got a fire at the end of it, it's mutter. The master cash like this: wood. Let's say go Isur Anor of wood. For example, what can you have Isur Anor of wood? Anybody want to give an example? I say Shiur. Very good. Or for example, klippe. Okay, klippe ola. How is it ever going to be osa? What do you do with wood? Burn it. According to the Chachamim, what do they hold? That as soon as you burn it, there's no problem with Isur Anor. So when in the world could you ever have Isur Anor of wood?
Oh, when you stand next to it for heat while it's burning.
No, that's Rebbe holds. The Chachamim holds not like that. What does the Chachamim say? That even kavuka the connector, even when the flame's on the wood, there's no problem. Anybody want to guess an answer? When you don't burn the wood, when you use the wood as a footstool, then you're getting anor from the wood. You're right. According to the Chachamim, whenever you burn Isur Anor, there's no problem. It's only when you use it as a footstool. So okay, that's rare. As a footstool, as a bench, then it is also. What happens if you wood of hektish? So next, what happens is the Gemara goes for a lot of Yisrael. Mishnah Kol Shor has within it many sodas of shas, of lochas. So again, if we take chametz and you burn it, what's the din? Right, the very, very first stage. Awesome, very good. So what happens if you use hektish wood? Now, why should there be any difference between hektish and chametz? So we'll see in a minute. What about the chum that says mutter? What about wood of hektish? What's the difference between olo and hektish? Hektish, he said it's okay. Sorry, olo, he said it's okay. Hektish is no good. Since olo is bottle, so the chum hold that when do you get heat? When it changes into carbon, when it combusts. So, but then it's already bottled. It's no longer Ola. But a hekdesh is never bottled. If hekdesh is never bottled, the fact that you're only getting the heat after it changes doesn't make it a heta, and therefore hekdesh is always also. What? No, once it's completely cold, it's not. But till then, it's a more. The halacha is, if this cup belongs to hekdesh, how could this cup belong to hekdesh? Very simply, what I do is I decide I want to give a present to Beis Hamikdash. I say this cup is for the Beis Hamikdash. When that happens, none of you are allowed to use this cup, including me. And the Beis Hamikdash will take it, sell it. Let's say I'll get £1 for this cup. And then that cup becomes back chulin. Let's say one of you decides to use this cup. What happens now? Me'ila. Then the cup becomes chulin. The cup becomes chulin because you used it and you shouldn't have. And you have to pay how much? £1.25. Is that clear? This is because we're going to go through the meal a bit. So again, so Gemara asks the kasha like this. What are we talking about? You go and burn wood, and I go and make on that wood a cholent. Says the Gemara, what did Rava say? It's asa ba'ano, the cholent. Why is asa ba'ano? Because hekdesh is not bottled. Oh no, it's bottled. Hekdesh is not bottled. When you burn the wood, it was me'ila. When you burnt it, so what happens to the wood?
It's chulin.
It's chulin. So now when I make the cholent on top of it,
maybe it's only one.
Wait a second, when I make the cholent on it, let's hear the question first. It's chulin, there should be no problem.
Maybe only it's when I want to pay the fine.
No. It becomes chulin automatically. You hear the question? What's the problem of somebody burning wood of hekdesh? And then afterwards, somebody making a cholent on top of it. Why did Rava say that it's asa ba'ano? He said it's even worse than Ola. Why is it worse than Ola, by the way? Because Ola is bottled 200, this is not bottled ever. So it's worse than Ola. What means worse than Ola? When he lit the wood, he didn't me'ila. There's no greater me'ila than lighting the wood. You're obviously using it. So once you've done that, so therefore my cholent is going to be absolutely fine because it's already chulin. So the Gemara says, this is complicated. A few stages. One is shlomim. There's no me'ila. Why is there no shlomim on me'ila? Because since shlomim, most of it is eaten by the owners and the kohanim, there's no me'ila. So if I say that this cup, it's a very strange thing to do. I say this cup should be for shlomim. What would happen?
Use the money to...
Very good, by the money by the shlomim. So I took a piece of wood and I said this wood should be for shlomim. They were going to sell the wood for shlomim. There's no me'ila. Since there's no me'ila, so it doesn't go to chulin. Or if there's no me'ila, it doesn't go to chulin. So what's the problem with burning it? The answer is the fact that there's no me'ila does not mean that it's not forbidden to use. There's two separate things. One is helchas me'ila, one is forbidden to use. The fact that the wood is for shlomim makes it forbidden to use. But there's no helchas me'ila, so if it doesn't go out to chulin. The same thing we see the halacha like this. If you use something b'mezid, let's say you take this cup and you by mistake you use it, it's me'ila, you pay £1.25 and the cup becomes chulin. If you on purpose, knowingly, you know it's hekdesh and you use it, the cup does not become chulin, you do not pay £1.25, you do not bring a korban asham, all you do is you pay the £1 or whatever you diminished it. So therefore it comes up by mezid, we're actually more meikol, you get less of a kapor in a sense. So therefore, by mezid, it doesn't go to chulin. Because there's no me'ila. So too by Atzei Shlomim, since there's no me'ila, it doesn't go l'chulin. Since not me'ila, it doesn't go l'chulin. Shalom kim de la ba me'ila, ninu lenafki l'chulin, does go l'chulin. Says Bo v'chalechet the mala mask nafki l'chulin. Whenever it does me'ila, they automatically go l'chulin. If you burn something which you're supposed to burn, let's for example chametz, then the ashes are permitted. Why? Does anybody know the story? I did once mention it. Because since the Torah told you burn it, now that I burnt it, I did what the Torah asked me. So the ashes is mutter. If the Torah told me to bury it, I can't use the ashes. But the Torah told me, but chutz me'atzei asher. Ve'efa hekdesh le'olam asa. The ashes of hekdesh is for always asa. It's forever and ever asa. So we see that even though hekdesh we're talking about, somebody burnt it. And now we've got ashes. Now when the person burnt it, did he do me'ila? Of course he did. If it did me'ila, so therefore why the ashes forbidden? It should be chulin. Oh, it's a teichik to say that the hekdesh of is to our only shlomim. So how can you say the ashes of a hekdesh is always asa? Why is it asa? The one who burned them did me'ila. If it did me'ila, it shouldn't be asa. He says it's a simple answer. We're talking about not when somebody went and burnt the wood where he did me'ila. We're talking about there was wood of hekdesh. And the fire caught it without anybody doing it on purpose. A fire spread, as if somebody dropped a cigarette. And the fire went and spread. Did he do Meila? Of course not. He hit the fire caught one thing. So therefore, what happened? Since there's no Meila, so if it doesn't go to Chulin. When, and one could have answered this answer previously as well. When does wood go to Chulin is only if somebody went and purposely burnt it. But if a fire caught it, no me. It is Shema Omar Boysen shouldn't Geniza. We're talking about Tumas Hadesh and the need Geniza.
Does you have to be Meila if you don't know that?
Yes, because in the end of the day you used it. Yes. Shema Omar Boysen shouldn't Geniza. Those that needed Geniza like Tumas Hadesh and the Tanya with somebody benachas, put it gently with somebody kuloi with somebody shleif all of it, and you shouldn't scatter it. So from here we learn that the Tumas Hadesh and there is Meila. Yehuda says that the only way to get rid of chametz is how? Yehuda says the only way to get rid of chametz is how? Burning it. We are chametz saying no. What's the other options? Scatter it. Now we're coming to Pesach. Tanya, I'll prove it to you. How can I prove it to you that you have to burn your chametz? A very strange kind of proof. Leftover korbanos. There's no issa to own it. Ton Sreifa, Chometz Yesh Bali or Bali Motza, the Kol Shekech Ton Sreifa. I've got to cover Chima. If already Noisa, which is more lenient, in what way is it more lenient? That is no in Bali or Bali Motza. Nevertheless, you have to burn it. Chometz, which is more stringent, that you have to have Bali or Bali Motza, cover Chima, you have to burn it. Omuloi Kodin Shata Don Chilos Lachbi Sefer Hakel Enuitin. A cover Chima that causes that a kula is not cover Chima. Think about it very, very carefully. It's good to get this clear because it comes up on lots of shots. You've got a kuladik thing. What's the kuladik thing? Noisa. The more chomer thing is chometz. So we say if already noisa you have to burn, kavachim chometz, which is more chomer you have to burn. Say that chometz you're wrong because according to your logic, let's say you don't manage to burn the chometz. It's Shabbos or you don't have the fire, but you can't burn the chometz. According to Rabbi Yehuda, what should you do? Nothing, because Rabbi Yehuda says you have to burn. Since there's nothing to burn with, you can't burn. So it comes out that by doing this kavachim, in sometimes or many times you're going to come out to a tremendous leniency. What's the leniency?
You won't be able to do anything.
That when you don't have a way to burn it, you don't need to burn it. So the Chachamim say you don't do a kavachima to which is machbir to make a kula. So they said which originally starts a chum of sefer eventually comes to a kula and it didn't. If you don't find wood to burn it, you should have a bottle, you should sit and do nothing. The Torah said get rid of it, and by you doing your kavachima, you make it, you don't need to get rid of it. This is called a mamotzinu, it's not kavachima. And by motzinu, you can't ask the question that's going to come to a kula. Why not? Because by motzinu, we just compared. By kavachim, you could say, how can you make a kavachim which comes to a kula? But by motzinu, you can't make a kula. So he said to him like this: let's do a mamotzinu. So you see that nevela which is not allowed to be eaten, you don't need to burn it. So why should you have to burn chametz? Just like chametz needs to be burnt, also just like noisa needs to be burnt, also chametz needs to be burnt. We're up to Omuloi, 6 lines from the bottom of Chavzayin with base. We'll carry on with Shemot Shabbos 8 o'clock. The more discusses all this now. The more asks all of this now.